everybody, welcome back to our channel. Today's video is a Q&A. Today's video is sponsored by Bed Bath & Beyond. You will find out more about them later, but why don't we get started? We're gonna pull it up right now. And we are going to do it. Okay, I don't know how to do it. It's almost there.
Okay, you do it. Here we go.
Okay, so I'm just gonna scroll through without looking in lane.
The second to the
Last,
which is the second question asked.
Okay, so this question is, when do you realize you wanted to move beyond dating and spend the rest of your lives together?
I feel like that's a two-part question or answer, because I think that we both knew early on that we wanted to, but it wasn't until we broke up and then got back together that we both knew 100% this is it, we're in it for the long.
Yeah, so long story short, we were together 4 years, we broke up for 4 months, and then when we got back together after that breakup, then we got engaged and then quickly got married and so on and so forth. Okay, so this one said sex, yes.
Absolutely. This is a good one. Does living in Tennessee come with any attitudes of prejudices with you raising kids?
I would say not to our face.
That's one thing you have to learn about the South, especially, is
people are real sweet to your face. They just love you.
Bless your heart.
But behind your back, they will say some vicious stuff.
Yeah.
We have not really had too much experience with that. I feel like everyone that we surround ourselves with, that we actually would talk to, what they say to our face is what they would say behind our backs. But I definitely see it in the South.
And we hear about it too. I mean, there's every day in the news, there's some sort of prejudice and homophobia.
It's definitely it's there.
That's what I was going to say. Okay, so we've had a lot of fun answering these questions, but why don't we take a quick break and talk about our sponsor, Bed Bath & Beyond. Their Your Registry, Your Way wedding registry is, I mean, it's amazing. It's Bed Bath & Beyond. And there's a couple of reasons why their registry is so perfect. And one of them is it's an all-in-one registry. They have products, they have experiences that you can buy, they have honeymoons that you can purchase, and they have cash funds. So they have a little bit of everything for everyone.
So one thing I love about Bed Bath & Beyond, when it comes to registering, it's very easy, very convenient. You can either do it in-store with their registry experts, or you can do it on the app or online.
They also offer cool things like free shipping. They have a price match promise, which we love because PJ loves a deal. And they offer easy returns. So they just make it super convenient for you to register.
One helpful tool that they have if you decide to go in the store to register is they have an in-store app scanner. You can literally just pick what you want with the scanner. I love that feature. It is so cool.
Very 2019, if you will.
Yeah.
They also offer a bunch of other really helpful tools like the Thank You Manager. They have a hit or miss tool, which is on the app. They have collection starters, price analyzer, registry checklist, and registry guide, which is available in print and digital.
So one thing I would want to register for with Bed Bath & Beyond would be one of those really nice high-end mixers, because I could not have anticipated just how much I would be baking and cooking now that we're married 5 years later, so that would be my pick.
For me, I couldn't narrow it down to just one thing. I would want two different things. One of them being a really nice coffee maker, because coffee is very important to me. My second item that I would want to register for would be a really nice set of sheets. If you think about how much time you spend in bed, spending a little bit of extra money on sheets is definitely worth it. Once again, we want to give a huge thank you to Bed Bath & Beyond for sponsoring this video. If you want to find out more about Bed Bath & Beyond, you can check in the description below. But for now, why don't we get back to the Q&A? All right, you do the next one.
Okay, here we go. This says, how has your marriage changed since adding kids? It's a fun question.
It is.
Can I answer?
Sure. So we have been together for 10 years, just about, and we've been married for
almost 5.
Almost 5 years. And I think marriage is, you like evolve into different things. So at the point that we were in life, we began talking about kids probably 2 years ago. Honestly, we've talked about kids forever. Forever meaning the extent of our relationship.
The whole 10 years.
But we've been very seriously talking about kids for 2 years now. Maybe a little over 2 years now.
like 2.5, 3 years. And I would say that it's changed because it went from focusing solely on us as a couple, us individually,
Our business,
to focusing, all of our attention goes to the kids.
Yeah.
So what's left over is what we do for everything else. So the kids really do come first, and then you can hear our dogs. The kids really do come first, and then everything else finds its
The dogs hear us
place.
talking about the kids.
They're like, what about us?
Hello, you didn't mention us. And I think that you more than me have realized that certain things just don't matter as much anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Like little things that you used to get maybe frustrated, like the couches or the chairs just don't seem as important.
Yeah, I was very worried about material things before the kids, and not having material things, but just taking care of the things that we had. Like we have white couches. It's a no-no with kids. We have a lot of rugs, velvet chairs that are behind us. So when we first got the kids, I was very anal about that type of stuff. And now I don't care.
Yeah.
I mean, I do, but I don't. It's not like what it was. It was very, very annoying in the beginning, but now I don't mind it at all. Next question. Why do you never wear socks?
That's not a marriage.
That's not a marriage question. I stay hot, so I don't wear socks.
Yeah.
Moving on.
There's that. Okay. Any tips on how to get your partner to compromise when they are not being reasonable?
Ooh, I feel like that was something that we evolved into over time. I feel like we both were very stubborn in the beginning.
And even still sometimes now.
Yes.
Like, I don't know if there's a good answer for that. I think that it's just...
Learning how to compromise is something that takes time. Learning somebody else's personality takes time. And I think eventually you get to a point where you're just like, I'd rather not argue or get into a disagreement about this. So why don't we compromise and figure out a better way?
It definitely is a time thing. With certain people are just born willing to compromise, and that's amazing. We were not one of those people. So over time...
It took years
Yeah.
to get to a place where we have learned how to navigate through situations where either of us need a compromise. Usually what happens is we both compromise a little bit, and that's how we get to it. How do you decide it's time to get hitched?
That's one of those weird questions that is really a person-by-person question. Because for some people, it's never the right time, and some people want to get married right away. So,
and we've always said marriage may not be for you. It just happened that we both wanted it.
Wanted it with each other.
Yeah.
More importantly. So I think that it is one of those things where you really do have to go with your gut and trust your heart and put your faith in someone else and in yourself. And if all of those things add up, then I think you are ready to get married.
And I think not rushing it is always very important. So
give it a few years.
Give it some time.
Yeah. Okay, here we go. How do you handle finances? Do you have separate bank accounts? That's a good question. This is another one that's person by person, couple by couple. We do not have separate bank accounts. We share a bank account.
We used to, so in the beginning...
When we were dating.
While we were dating, so the first 4 or 5 years of our relationship, we had separate bank accounts. Thomas really pushed to share a bank account once we got married. I really did not want to do that. But looking back on it and being at a place where now we do share bank accounts, it made it so much easier. We both have similar spending habits. We don't like splurge on anything. Any big purchase, I say big, anything like over $100, we usually talk.
Anything over I would say anything over 30. We're so cheap. Anything over 30.
We always discuss purchases.
Yeah.
Purchases?
Yeah, purchases.
Purchases. We will always talk to each other about stuff like that before.
It works for some people. I mean, he has a family member that they've never shared a bank account and they're fine with it, I guess. Yeah. For us, it just made sense.
If we were at a place where I had specific spending habits and he had different ones, I don't recommend doing that. Yeah. I don't recommend sharing a bank account.
You need to be on the same page.
Yeah, because it's a very important part of life, not just relationships. So if somebody in the relationship is not smart with their money, I don't think it's fair to make the other person suffer because of that.
Well, and you're just opening the door for conflict, especially if you already know that about yourself and you guys already don't agree. Getting married is not going to fix that, it's actually going to amplify the problem.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you
I don't
say?
know. It's hard. I think if it's possible to share a bank account, you should. If not, don't do it. Don't feel pressure. Okay, so it says, what was the biggest challenge you both faced leading up to the ceremony? So if you've been following us, you know that we ended up skipping a big marriage ceremony and we went with a very small one in a house that we were flipping, and we just did it in the living room. I think we spent like $150 on it.
And then for a while we were like, do we get married and have a big ceremony at the house?
That was a big challenge too.
And we were going back and forth on that, if we wanted to spend money on our wedding or if we wanted to spend money on our kitchen.
Mm-hmm.
And we ultimately chose our kitchen.
I don't regret having a small ceremony because we were able to invest that money into a house that paid off when we are going to sell it. But secondly, when we made the decision about our ceremony and how it was going to be smaller, we knew that at our 5-year mark, we were going to have a celebration, and that's next October. So we're gearing up for our 5-year wedding anniversary. So we're going to go bigger for that.
Okay, here we go. Okay, this is a good one. How does it change the relationship? It meaning marriage. I think for us, everything felt more serious. It felt more permanent, and it felt like the stakes were higher.
So it's weird because it is a mindset.
Yeah.
So I do agree that it did change the way that you feel about it. There was definitely some type of mental change.
Shift. It was like a shift. And then even with like me changing my name, that was a shift. Us moving in together, that was, so there were all these like physical changes that were made like that. And then there was like the mental change. Mm-hmm. And I think that it was a good change. It felt like it was for the better.
Yeah. Okay. So this question says, is it scary committing to one person for the rest of your life? I went through a phase once we were engaged that, and I think everybody honestly goes through this, where you're like, oh, I'm engaged. And if you're in a monogamous relationship, you're like, this is the person that I'm going to be with the rest of my life. We happen to be in a monogamous relationship. So I think that there is like this kind of like fear initially when you get engaged or get married, and may even hold some people back from wanting to get married, as far as like thinking this is the person I'm going to be with for the rest of my life. I was able to like work through that fear because I knew that Thomas was the perfect person for me. I didn't want to be with anybody else. We meshed very well. We have a very good relationship, and I couldn't have like asked. I've always said when I describe, especially in the beginning, when I would describe Thomas to people, I'd be like, if I wrote everything down that I wanted in a boyfriend or fiance or husband, he would have almost everything on the list. So I think it can be scary for people to be in a relationship and think to themselves that I'm going to end up with this person forever. But I think you just have to like know what you want. And in my case, I knew what I wanted, and Thomas fit that. And for me, it was what I wanted.
I think that also rings true with really any big life change that has a sense of permanency to it. And we talked about that with other things in our life, like, oh my gosh, do we want this forever? Because forever is a long time.
Yeah, I had the same feeling the first week that we got our first foster placement.
Yeah.
I was like, what did we do? And now after having kids, I can't imagine not having kids. So even if, like, no matter what happens with our first foster care placement, we're going to end up with kids one day just from that experience. So everything is scary when you're looking into something like buying a house. That's scary. Having kids, that's scary.
It's much less scary whenever you take it day by day instead of looking at like the whole big picture.
Yeah.
So, but then once you settle into marriage, it's your life, and that's what it is, and it's just normal.
Yeah.
That was really sweet, by the way. Thank you. Okay, this is a good one. Do you sometimes need personal space?
Every day.
I think one of us needs it more than the other. That didn't make sense. I think one of us needs it more than the other. But I also, again, I think that it just really depends on the person. I'm a person who doesn't need much personal space from anyone. and you are someone who needs that time to restore and to...
Yeah, whenever I'm in a setting where I'm with other people, it's like draining my battery. So for me to like recharge myself, I have to have time by myself to reflect back. Yeah, I need personal space for sure. Okay, so now we are going to try to answer as many questions as we can in less than 1 minute, and then we're going to be finished. So, one that I'm reading right now, how do you keep the flame? I feel like marriage is always evolving, and spicing up your marriage is something that you have to do.
Marriage is work. You have to work at it every day.
Yeah. So there's ways to flame it up, you might say. If you can't think of any yourself, just Google it. I'm sure there's a few there for you. Okay. Do you regret it?
Do you ever regret it? Not at all. Never a day in my life. What about you?
Hashtag same.
Okay, good.
Is it true that married equals less frequent eggplant emoji? No. If anything, it means more.
Have you ever thought of open relationships? Thought of them? Sure. Actually do it? No.
Obviously, in the gay community, you're going to come across open relationships. You're going to have conversations about open relationships. Not in the sense that we were ever going to partake, just that, I mean, it's a thing. And I know multiple people who have very healthy relationships and they are open. So yeah, if it's for you, it's for you. If it's not for you, it's not for you.
Go for it.
If it is for you, go for it. If it's not for you, don't go for it. There you go.
All right, we have 15 seconds.
Okay. So what are the best and bad things of your marriage? Best and bad. Best and bad.
Oh, our marriage? I thought they were just going to say marriage in general. The best thing is that we get to work together and spend all day together and share life together, and we have similar interests.
The worst would be...
Get to work together and share life together. No, working together is hard. It is.
Yeah, I would say the worst is... Well, that's a choice.
Yeah.
Working together is a choice. We don't have to work together. We just, we do work together. Working together is hard, but we make it happen. And it does make our relationship stronger. Okay, that concludes our video. Thank you guys so much for watching. We want to give a special thanks to Bed Bath & Beyond for sponsoring this video. Like always, you know where to find us. Until next time.
Bye, y'all.